Welcome back to my channel. I hope you had a wonderful week with your students. This was a particularly busy week for me. I was out doing some professional development on Wednesday, so naturally I had to plan a subplan. And subplans aren't really something that I talk a lot about on my channel, so I thought this would be a good time to chat about it. You know, what do I plan? What do I give my students to do when I'm out? Because honestly, I'm rarely out of school. I'm pretty much at school every single day, barring any illness, or anything personal going on in my life. But when I'm out, the kids definitely notice it because they're so used to me being here all the time. So I want to make sure that everything goes smoothly for the kids and for the substitute. So I think subplans really fall into one of two major categories. There's the emergency subplan where you're like, oh my God, like I need to just find something for the kids to do. And then there's also like, okay, I have a little bit more time to plan, think a little bit more about like what I'm doing right now and how I can help the kids kind of take it one more step further while I'm out. So fortunately for me, I was in the position of the latter. So this video will actually address both types of lesson plans, but I thought I'd start with the latter because this is obviously something that I just did this week. My AP students and my honor students, completely different classes, completely different content. My AP kids were working on thermochemistry based stuff like calorimetry and enthalpy. My honor students were working on preparations for a unit assessment that we were doing on light. So it was a lot. I definitely had to think a little bit about like what I'm doing and like how I can help both sets of students. So when I think about what I want the students to do whenever I'm out, I always use the mnemonic REAM. So R stands for relevant. We want whatever the students are doing to be relevant to the content that we're teaching. We also want it to be easy. We want it to be easy for the sub to implement. We want it to be easy for the students to carry out the tasks. We want to make sure that we have nice and clear directions. This would not be an opportunity for you to like try something brand new with your kids. You want to do something that you've done before, that the procedures are put in place that the students feel comfortable completing. You also want your students to be held accountable. So that's the A part of REAM. We want accountability for our students whenever we're doing this. So for me, whenever I'm planning a lesson, it's usually a digital one and it has a timestamp associated with it. So for my honors kids, since they were reviewing for their light assessment, I made a light review video in Edpuzzle. You can see exactly how much time they work on it. You can see the timestamp when it was submitted. I also gave them an extra practice worksheet to do that reviewed all the concepts from our light unit. So for that, the students had to actually turn that into the substitute so I could also see that they completed that worksheet. For the AP students, their assignment was completely online. They were working on some online web learning, and that also has a timestamp with it. So that also made it a little bit easier for them to kind of see what they were working on and when they submitted the answers to the questions. If you don't have something that has a timestamp or maybe something that you're going to collect, another thing that you could possibly do is incorporate a do now quiz the following day. So when the students come in, give them a quick, really short do now quiz. What did they retain from what they did in class the prior day? Just make sure that the students are engaged in that content while you're away, because they know that they're going to have to apply it the following day. And then the last part of the mnemonic is meaningful. Whatever we give our kids, we want it to be meaningful. We want the students to buy into it. So you want your students to see value in what you're assigning. You don't want to give a whole bunch of busy work. So for me, something meaningful would be like something they need extra practice on, some sort of extra practice worksheet, maybe something that can offer some practice or help, like a video of you doing a problem, for example, maybe that they struggled with. The key component that's missing is obviously you're not here as the teacher to offer help. So one of the things that you want to think about doing is how could you offer some feedback to the student while you're not here so they know whether or not they're on the right track. You could consider maybe including like a QR code that goes to like a video that explains how to do the problem. You could possibly include access to like some sort of answer key that the students can use to help decide whether or not they got the information. But either way, you want it to be a chance for the students to practice the content and skills that you're teaching and help them know what they don't know, because like I said, you're not here to actually help them know that information. Now, for those of us who do not have the luxury of planning in advance for a sub, one of my go-tos, honestly, is Chem Matters. And if you are an AACT member, this is a free benefit that comes with your membership. You'll get these Chem Matters articles, and you have one of two ways to distribute them to the kids. You could send them digitally, or you could print them out. my students, they do like to read stuff on paper. So I have a tendency to print the article like in the beginning of the school year. But then what's even amazing about this is that they actually create the questions for you. Like, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is copy the article, copy the questions, throw it in a folder, and then you can use it whenever you need it. If you pick an article related to the students' lives about, like, you know, something that's going on in the world, this is always such an interesting thing for them to read about. And they do enjoy it. You know, it gives them a chance to learn about something new and different, and it's written for high school students, so it's very easy to read. And like I said, having those questions ready to go is amazing. So it makes a huge difference in terms of like kind of taking the heat off of you having to plan a brand new lesson. You can just copy it and it's ready to go, and you can use it whenever you need it. So I think that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video all about subplans. If you have any tips that you use to maybe put in your subfolder, like is there anything that you put in your subfolder that's a little different? Any subplans that you love to use with your students? Leave a comment down below. Share it with the rest of us. I'd love to know, you know, maybe some other ideas for subplans that I can use. Either way, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'll be sure to check in with you guys next week.